No rules, no limits, no filters. Yep, that's right. You're on another episode of Unrestricted, where we speak about everything, and I mean everything. Today we're going to be discussing the Snow White film that was released on the 21st of March in South Africa. I was really excited to go to the premiere of this show, but unfortunately premieres around the world had been cancelled due to a lot of controversy and backlash that this film got. And to be honest, going into the movie theater, I wasn't feeling excited. I was questioning why did I even spend my money going into this, because I've heard so many bad reviews on it. Scoring 43% on Rotten Tomatoes, and only 13% of Google users said that they had liked this film. But it turns out that it wasn't that bad. Yes, you heard correctly, it wasn't that bad. So I'm going to go through each of the critiques that I've heard and give my opinion on what it is. I am no cinematography professional. This is just me, a normal citizen, and my opinion on the show. Yes, my opinion is going to be unpopular. So if you are wanting just to hear all the bad things about the film, move along, because that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to give you my opinion on the good and the bad of the film. There was a lot of backlash in Disney choosing Rachel Zegler as the Snow White character. And to be honest, I don't see the problem with it. I think her acting was not amazing, but it was a lot better than her co-star's acting, Gal Gadot, who was performing the role of the evil queen. This movie, I feel like, was trying to be a bit theatrical in the way that the actors were being played, the singing, the dancing, the choreography, and it just seemed very unnatural for Gal Gadot performing this role in the theatrical way that it was done. I particularly noticed how unnatural this kind of acting was for Gal Gadot when she started singing All Is Fair. It was just the facial expressions did not fit her well, and I just think it comes from a place where it's something she's not used to, or maybe she meant it to come across that way, to be a bit raw and unpolished, if I could call it that. But it just seemed very uncomfortable for her, and it made me feel uncomfortable watching it. But Rachel Zelgar, I think she did a great performance. I think her singing was great. Yes, I've heard some commentary about her not singing in soprano like the original Snow White did, but it still added a modern twist. I don't think that the change in voice really impacts the movie that much. Moving on to the visuals and production design. This part of the film, I would say, was the worst for me. I think that they could have invested a little bit more, especially if they were going for a theatrical kind of take on Snow White, like Wicked did for The Wizard of Oz. They should have really spent a bit more money on making the set look realistic in a way. You could kind of see that things were staged, and the part where Snow White was running away from the huntsman into the forest, like the forest turns red, and it just looked very out of place. It was kind of a mixture between a cartoon and a live action, and from my understanding, this was meant to be a live action film. So to have these cartoon elements come in like an animated forest really just created a bit of a disconnect for me as a viewer. One of the obvious contributions to the poor visual and production design was the overuse of AI unnecessarily. And the Guardian came out with an article that I'm going to quote because I thought that it spoke exactly how I felt about how AI was used in this film, and it just made me giggle. The problems are more fundamental, starting with the fact that this is one of the ugliest things I have ever seen. It has the look of an AI-created migraine and is awash with sentiments so sappy that you rather wish the huntsman would just get over his moral scruples and put us all out of our collective misery. Rough, I know. But that's literally how I felt. With the minute I was so excited to see these little dwarves marching into the mine and all of that. And the minute I saw their little legs, they were zoomed in, the camera had zoomed into the legs, I was like, oh no, don't tell me that they have used CGI or AI to create the dwarves. And they had. One of the main reasons why I was so disappointed that they used AI to fill the roles of the dwarves was because it took away the opportunity for real actors from the dwarfism community to play a role in a big and very well established story like Snow White. There are already so few roles available in these minority communities that to to now go and use AI instead of giving the job to someone who can benefit from it is so unethical. I do know that when they received the initial backlash for using CGI or AI to create these dwarves, that they did sit down with the dwarfism community and chatted about a way forward and how to work around it. And the reasoning behind not using real actors for these roles was because they didn't want to have the stereotype live on throughout the film. I think that if you had sat down with the dwarfism community and had the real conversation of, we want to have you guys in these roles, but how do you feel? That would have saved them a lot of backlash later on, because then they would have been able to get an understanding of how to approach the situation. Using CGI and or AI to create the characters of the dwarves also affected the overall visual of the movie. Once again, creating that confusion. Am I watching a cartoon or am I watching a live action film? It really just created a huge disconnect. It made me feel a disconnect from the characters, whereas I feel a lot of them are meant to be relatable, hence why they're named after feelings, everyday feelings, grumpy, happy, dashful, if I remember correctly. And I just feel like it was so much harder to just connect with these characters. If they were to have used real people to fill these roles, I think it would have had a better impact on how the movie was received. Also, I feel like the visuals and production design were also a little bit extra in some areas. There was a part in the movie where Snow White and Jonathan, which is the bandit that essentially saves her in the end, they were celebrating him being saved with everyone at a bonfire. And then him and Snow White start singing and everyone disappears off set. Also, once again, very unrealistic, because you're just sitting there like, wait, where did everyone go? But I suppose that's part of the theatrical side of things. And there's a part where he's singing about her and she is then dancing in slow motion. And that part also was so cringy to me. And this brings me to the headline of that Gaudian quote that I highlighted to you earlier on, where it reads, Snow White review, toe-curlingly terrible live action remake. I can really see how it's toe-curling when it comes to that one scene where she's dancing in slow motion and Jonathan looks over to her. It really, once again, made me cringe. I think I cringed so much in this film because of the acting from Gal Gadot. And she's a brilliant actor, don't get me wrong. I think she was wonderful in Wonder Woman. And I do think she's a very talented actor. I just don't think the style of acting is a right fit for her. And maybe it comes with practice. All in all, it wasn't a half bad movie. I really did enjoy the slight plot changes. I think it drove the message around being fearless, fair, brave, and true really well. I think it shows the balance of being a strong woman, but still having the opportunity to find your true love and fall in love and get married. While it does succeed in certain areas like lead performances, the songs, the storyline, but in saying this, it does have shortcomings. The biggest one being the visual execution. I think they really should have put more money into the production, the editing, the set design. I feel like the set design really deserved a lot more work and effort, because I felt like they really were a bit lazy and just decided to CGI a lot of the things into the movie, where they could have spent a bit more time creating realistic props and settings. Although I think this maybe was a good call on their end, considering how the movie has been received by audiences. Ultimately, the film's reception underscores the inherent complexities that come with trying to balance modern sensitivities whilst maintaining the essence of a beloved movie, leaving audiences divided. So with that being said, please go watch the new Snow White film. It's really not that bad. You will find bits and pieces of the movie that you do love and can resonate with, and just give it a go. If you have already watched it, please let me know what you thought about it. Whether you have some good or bad things to say, let me know what you think in the comments below. I'd really like to hear everyone's opinions. And if you want more content around movie reviews and TV show reviews, also let me know. But that's it from me, everyone. I will see you next week for another episode.